Hello students, today we are going to look into the poles and zeros of network functions. We have already seen how a two-port network or a single port network can be analyzed to find the network functions or the driving point functions. Both the driving point functions and the network functions, or the transfer functions together constitute the network functions. And what we are going to see here is what are the significance of poles and zeros of the network functions. For understanding the poles and zeros of network functions, what we have to do is we have to first factorize the numerator and the denominator. So the numerator is written as n of s and denominator is written as d of s. What I want you all to look here is that the degree of the numerator is the highest power of s. So the numerator is having a degree of n and the denominator is having a degree of m as it is written here. Okay, now the network functions will have transfer function and the driving point functions. So first thing that we have to do is we have to take care that the highest power coefficient, which is a of n, and the highest power coefficient of the denominator b of m are made as 1. Okay, so what do? We divide or we take an commonly out of the numerator, and similarly at the denominator we take bm commonly outside. Okay, so if I'm going to write this, I can write that from here if I take an commonly outside, I will get s raised to power n plus an minus 1 divided by an s raised to power n minus 1, like that all the way up to a0 divided by an. So this will be the numerator equation. And similarly the denominator we take bm commonly outside. So bm, if I am going to take commonly outside, what will remain is sm plus each and every coefficient will be divided by bm. So sm minus 1, like that all the way up to b0 divided by bm. Now an by bm can be basically written as some constant value h. And then we will have based on the powers. So if suppose there are the value of n is 2, then we will have 2 factors. If the value of n is 3, we will have 3 factors. Now here the power of s is n, so we will have n factors. So I will write it as s minus z1, s minus z2, like that we will have n factors of the numerator. So s minus zn. Similarly in the denominator also we can factorize and we will get m number of factors. So s minus, let me name it as p1, s minus p2, like that s minus pm. So fs can be written as h multiplied with these factors. Okay, now once we do this, you have a look here. If the value of s is taken as, that means if I am going to try to calculate value of s, if I am going to put z1, what will happen? If I put the value of s is equal to z1, this will become 0, because of which the whole f of s will become 0. Or for that case, if I put the value of s is equal to z2, or like that if I am going to put f is equal to s is equal to Zn. In all these cases, the network function becomes 0. That's why, so we will say that Z1, Z2, all the way up to Zn are called as the zeros of the network function f of s. They are called as the zeros of the network functions f of s. Similarly, so I will write also, if suppose I am going to take the value of s as what is in the denominator, so let's say s is equal to p1. What will happen if I put s is equal to p1? Then in the denominator we will have 0, because of which we will have f of s is equal to infinity. So just like that, same is the case with if I am going to put s is equal to p2, like that all the way up to f of s is equal to pm. For all these cases, the value of network function goes to infinity, or it goes to the poles. So P1, P2, all the way up to Pm are called as the poles of the network function f of s. They are called as the poles of the network function. So any network function, we can find out the number of poles and the number of zeros. Generally, how can we say how many number of poles and zeros are there? By looking at the numerator, and the highest power that we are having, that is going to be the number of zeros. Similarly, if I am going to look at the denominator, the highest power of s, that is going to be the number of poles that I am going to have. So based on the equation, we will have a number of zeros and poles, and these can help us understand a lot about the transfer function and the driving point function. Now these three things we should always remember, which are the scaling factor h, this is called as the scaling factor, the zeros and the poles. Each of these are the poles. Why is it important is, generally we should be able to plot. So if I am trying to plot, we plot the poles and zeros in an plane which is called as the S plane. It is called as the S plane. So let me draw these. So this is 0, this is the real axis, and this is the imaginary axis j omega, and this is the S plane. Now the S can have values which are real. If the values are real, then the values will lie only in this axis, or it can have imaginary values. When do we have imaginary values? Imaginary values are, for example, real values. If suppose you are having s minus 2, then s plus 2 is one of the poles or zeros, whatever. Suppose it is the pole, then we can write this as s is equal to minus 2. So we find where is minus 2, and we put a cross mark for pole. We put a cross mark for pole and a circle with a center as 0. Okay. So if the pole is a simple pole, this is called as a simple pole. If this is a simple pole, you will always have poles lying in the x-axis. Sometimes it may be even at 0. For example, you are having a network function f of s, which has in the denominator s into s plus 1. So it means one of the poles it has is at s is equal to 0. The second pole is at s plus 1 is equal to 0. Therefore, s is equal to minus 1. So you put one pole at 0, another pole at minus 1. Okay. Another case may be that the poles or zeros are imaginary. When does the imaginary happens? Suppose instead of having s plus 1, you are having s plus 1 square. That means there are two factors Okay, s plus 1 square. So s plus 1 square is, it means you are having s is equal to minus 1 two times. So in minus 1 you will draw two cross. Okay, just side by side. So one cross you draw like this, another one you also draw very close together. So you will have two poles or maybe even two zeros, which are very close by to each other. Draw them very close by to each other. So that is basically called as the multiple pole. So this is for the case of multiple pole or zeros. If it's in the numerator, it is 0. Now there can occur another situation where you may have in the denominator, suppose s square plus 1 or plus 2. In this case, again there are two values of s, isn't it? So it is s square is equal to minus 2, therefore s is equal to under root of 2j plus minus. So there are two values. One is at, so suppose if this is root 2 and this is the j omega axis, so this is root 2j, and this the exactly the opposite side we are having the minus root 2j, minus root 2j. So you draw the two poles, one here and another one here. This is for the case of imaginary poles or zeros. So you may have simple one, you may have multiple one, you may have imaginary one, or you may even have something like s plus 3s plus, let's say 4, or not say 4, let's say 6. In this case, if you would find out, you will get, or let's take a different one. It is s square. It is s square plus 4s plus 8. You try to solve this, the quadratic equation, you will get the value of s to be minus 2 plus minus 2j. So how do you draw minus 2 plus minus 2j? So minus 2 is here, 2j will be here. Okay, let's say this is minus 2j. So minus 2 plus 2j, we will draw it here, and minus 2 minus 2j, we will draw it here. So anywhere in this plane you can have simple real poles, or you may have conjugate pairs of imaginary poles, or you may have conjugate pairs of complex poles, or you may have multiple poles. There can be multiple imaginary poles also, there can be multiple complex poles also. So like that, the poles and zeros can be drawn in the S plane, and there is a meaning to it. The meaning I will make you understand after I take certain portions in transient analysis. Right now, all you have to remember is that the network function will have a scaling factor h, some zeros z1, z2 all the way up to zn. Similarly, we will have poles p1, p2 all the way up to pm, and these zeros and poles can be either a real value, simple pole, multiple pole, or they may be imaginary conjugate pairs or complex conjugate pairs. So these are the kind of values that we are having, which we have to plot in the S plane. Okay. Now, once we get something like this, there can be a case where S minus Z2 and let's say P1 are same. That means in the numerator you are having, suppose Z2 is equal to 3. So S minus 3, and the denominator also you have S minus 3. Then both of this has to cancel off. Both of this has to cancel off, and so one pole and one zero will cancel off. There can happen cases like that. Okay. Or, we can have cases where you are having, let's say, a square and s here. So one of the s has to be cancelled off. So like that, after cancelling off, whatever remains, that is the number of poles and the number of zeros. Generally, for a network function, the number of poles should be equal to the number of zeros. That is, m is equal to n. But that will not be the case. You will find out that it is different. So it means what? It means that the remaining, suppose m is greater than n, then the remaining m minus n poles. Why? Because m are the poles, isn't it? So number of poles are more. So the remaining zeros, m minus n zeros, are at infinity. And suppose if n is greater than m, that means number of zeros are greater than the number of poles, then the number of poles that are remaining for making this equal is n minus m, and those number of poles are at infinity. For example, let me say, suppose you are having a function which looks something like this. F of s is equal to 3 s plus 2 into s divided by s plus 1 s plus 3 into s plus 4. Suppose, so the number of zeros, the scaling factor first is 3. This is the scaling factor, which is 3. The number of poles are at minus 2 and 0, and the zeros are at minus 1, minus 3 and minus 4. How do we get it? By equating this is equal to 0. So I will get s plus 1 is equal to 0. So s is equal to minus 1. Similarly, from here I will get s is equal to minus 3. From here I will get s is equal to minus 4. Okay. So here you can see that the number of poles and the number of zeros are not same. The number of zeros are more. So what do we say? We say that the poles, there is an extra pole at infinity. But no need for you to write that. It is understood, that's all. When you write, you just write the number of poles and the number of zeros to be this. The extra poles that are to be there for making both the number of poles and zeros equal, that extra pole is at infinity. But we can never write it. Okay. Now, looking at the poles and zeros, there are certain restrictions for poles and zeros, and based on that we can understand whether the transfer function we are having are driving point function or if it is a transfer function. This is very important portion. You should write this. In your notebook. So you can pause the video here and write these points. Similarly, you can pause the video here and write the remaining points from 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now what does this say? For a driving point transfer function, the coefficient of the polynomial numerator and denominator polynomial must be always real and positive. That means it is talking about which one? It is talking about these, or these, the coefficients an minus 1. So always take for this case. So what is it saying? The coefficient must be real and positive, then only it will be a driving point function. For a transfer function, the point that is being said is that the coefficient must be real for numerator and denominator, and for ds it should be only positive. It must be positive for ds. Ns can be negative. Whereas for driving point functions, both have to be real and positive only. So by looking at the function, you will be able to say whether this is a correct driving point function or a correct transfer function. The poles and zeros must occur in conjugate pairs. Similarly, here also they must occur in conjugate pairs. It's common for both the cases. Then the real part of all poles and zeros must be negative or zeros. That means the poles and zero must lie in the left half of the S-plane. So what is the S-plane? This is the S-plane. And what is the left half? This is the left half, and this is the right half of the S plane. So what this point is saying is that the real part of all poles and 0 must be negative or 0, that is the poles and 0 should always lie in the left hand of the S plane. Okay. Here what they are saying is, in the case of transfer function, the real part of poles must be negative or 0. If the real part of zeros, if the real part is 0, then the pole must be a simple pole. Okay. Look at the fourth point. If the real part of poles of zeros is 0, then that pole or 0 must be a simple point. Okay. Next one. Fourth and fifth. Look at the fifth one here. For the case of driving point function, the numerator and denominator must not have any missing terms between those of highest and lowest degree unless all even or all odd terms are missing. That means, suppose if I am going to write a function, if suppose it is s cube, then there should be s square and there has to be s raised to power 1 and some constant value. You cannot have s cube plus something 0 s square here and then s. It means that this term is going to be missing. That is not allowed. If you are having a higher function higher degree of n, higher power of n, then there has to be coefficient for s n minus 1, for s n minus 2, like that all the way up to 0. There cannot be any missing. There cannot be any missing function in between. That means you cannot have any missing powers in between. If at all you are having, the only case that is possible is you are having either all odd. For example, you are having s raised to power 3, next odd is s raised to power 1. Okay. Or you are having, let's say, s raised to power 5, then you can have s raised to power 3 plus s raised to power 1, like that. Or in the case of even number, suppose if you are having s raised to power 6, then you should have s raised to power 4, s raised to power 2, s raised to power 0, which is some constant value. So like that, for the case of even only and odd only powers are possible. Otherwise, from the highest to the lowest power, it should always be there. That is what is written here. Then the polynomials numerator and denominator may not have missing terms between those of the highest and the lowest degree unless all even or all odd terms are missing. The same thing is written here. Okay. Now, for the case of driving point function, the degree of numerator and denominator may differ by either 0 or 1 only. That means if you are having a numerator to have a highest power of s3, the denominator should have either s3 or s square. It cannot be less than that. Okay. What is the case in this one? In case of transfer function. In case of transfer function, the degree of numerator may be as small as 0 and independent of the degree of ds. Okay, it may be as small as 0. That means you can have, in the case of transfer function, something like 5 s cube plus s square plus s plus 4, something like this. See, what is the difference? Here the degree is 0, here the degree is 3. So is the difference equal to 0 or less than or 1? No. Here the difference is 3. So for the case of transfer function, it is okay, but for the case of driving point function, the difference should always be 1. That is what is written in case of driving point function, that the difference is always 1. Okay. Here, the voltage and current transfer function, the maximum degree of ns is the maximum degree of ds. It should not be more than denominator. The degree of the numerator should not be more than the degree of denominator for the case of transfer function. Whereas for transfer impedance and admittance function, the maximum degree of ns is the degree of whatever is the degree of ds plus 1. That is the maximum that is possible. So these conditions as such come in the examination. Take your time and write these. Today's worksheet will basically comprise of submission of these restrictions or conditions for driving point function and transfer functions. Write this and submit in the worksheet. Thank you.